Hi there, this is Chris from MoneyHub, and this guide looks at pet euthanasia. So just as a first introduction, pet euthanasia is the same as putting a pet down. It's when the vet will euthanize your animal and put a dog or cat or whatever else to sleep. And this is a very difficult time for any pet owner. It is a risk of sort of any pet ownership that this may be a situation you have to face. We've put together this guide to help explain what you need to know to be able to cope and make an informed decision. We've linked this guide down in the description of the video, so please feel free to read it. What I'm going to do now is just take you through the finer points of the guide to properly explain, the things that the things that are most important. So first up, the best person to talk about pet euthanasia is going to be your vet. This is because they know your animal best, apart from yourselves, of course, and they can make a medical decision or suggestion. They'll never decide for you as to what, whether or not you should euthanize your animal, but they can suggest it, if there's qualifying circumstances. So essential questions to ask, around your animal: can it eat, drink, and sleep? Can it move around reasonably comfortably, and can it sort of respond to your presence? When a cat or a dog suffers, this persistent problems, it can't sleep, it can't move, it's throwing up, it's distressed, it's uncomfortable, breathing issues, there are strong suggestions there that euthanasia can be the best route. But this is going to depend on what you want to do. This is going to also depend on what the vet suggests. So you really just need to talk with the vet and reach a decision from there. The reality is, few cats and dogs pass peacefully. There's always something, well, not always, but there is often something that's a little traumatic or quite difficult to deal with. So dogs can go downhill pretty quickly as well. Euthanasia is really the control that you have to make their end sort of dignified and comfortable. But of course, no one really wants to be sort of contemplating it. But, the purpose of this guide is to give you all the options. So what is pet euthanasia? And what can you expect? Really, it means gentle death. And as I said, it's put to sleep or put down. It's not an easy decision to make, but it's certainly one that you have to make certainly consider it should your pet be in a state of permanent distress or permanent sort of bad health, which affects their living quality. The process does happen quickly, so the pet's not aware of it, and as long as you remain calm, then things will go smoothly. The best approach really is to do it within your home. There's nothing more traumatic than driving to a vet knowing that this is it, because it's not what you want to be doing. So vets will do some pain relief first that will calm the pet down, and then it's an anesthetic that helps your pet gently drift off, and they'll make sure that your pet's as comfortable as possible during that time. If you're not comfortable staying for the procedure, and that's fine. You don't have to. That's not a requirement. But many pet owners do. It is certainly something that you can choose on the day. You don't need to pre-decide that. But once the process starts, that can't be reversed, of course. How much does pet euthanasia cost? It really just depends on a few variables here. So will you do it at home? Will you do it at the vet clinic? So of course, if you do it at home, there is going to be an additional cost because the vet needs to visit you. The size of the pet. So of course, if you have a large dog, like an Alsatian, that's going to be a lot more expensive usually than, say, a standard sized cat. And then whether or not you have your pet cremated, sort of add-on services there, then there's going to be, added costs. So it is a cost, but, there are ways to decrease it. But at the same time, taking your pet to the vet clinic may not be the best saving of money, but this is just going to come down to what's right for you and your family. Many people ask us, will pet insurance cover the cost? The answer is usually not. Most policies won't cover that. Some will, but it's not that standard. But of course, once your pet does pass, then you no longer have to pay pet insurance on the animal, so you can cancel that straight away without any penalty there. We've listed some frequently asked questions just to make it sort of easier to understand. They cover like burying options. Can you do it like euthanasia at home? As we previously said, yes, you can. And what do vets do after they put the animal to sleep? So of course you have the animal, you can then decide what happens. You can bury, you can cremate, all sorts of things there. How do you know when it's time? The vet is going to be a strong advocate there in terms of information. So just listen to them. I know this is very traumatic. Please don't get upset. Don't get angry at them. They're just doing their best. The cost of vets, it may seem high within New Zealand, but the reality is medical costs throughout New Zealand for people are heavily subsidised by the government. That's why people are a little bit cautious of vet costs. But it's just because there's no public subsidy whatsoever, so they're only charging what things cost plus a small margin. But there's really, this is what things are costing, and please just stay calm and work with the vet as closely as you can. And what if you feel bad about euthanasia? Look, I mean, the reality is your pet doesn't feel anything. They'll hurt less, they'll suffer less if they have a long-standing issue, which is usually the reason for the euthanasia in the first place. Chronic pain is very uncomfortable. If they can't walk, they can't function, then euthanasia is a perfectly reasonable decision. And your vet's only going to suggest it or recommend it if it's the only option left. They're not going to just recommend it sort of out of the blue or something minor. And they're going to suggest everything else treatment-wise beforehand. And as I previously said, the process is peaceful and calm. It's not traumatic. You can watch it if you want to. It's going to be sad afterwards, of course, but that is unfortunately the downside of being a pet owner, is that the price of love and the price of the experience of your animal is the grief that comes afterwards. Are there additional fees? Usually not. It's going to be the standard. It's going to be the standard euthanasia fee. But there'll be a call-out fee if that's if you've chosen to do that. And whether or not you should have your pet euthanized at home, really this comes down to you. We've got some information there, but that's just going to come down to a personal choice. So thank you very much for listening. This is a guide that we're constantly working on. If you have any questions, do let us know. We try to get as much information into these sort of niche pet related guides as possible. We want our guides to be as comprehensive as possible, so any comment that you can leave will really help us improve them. We're always adding, we're always making changes. So thank you very much, and wishing you the best with your animal.